Right now I am in Cleveland Hopkins International Airport, but I'm going to do a little video talking about my experience with using Clear at the airport in order to quickly get through the lines. So just a quick primer.
For your safety,
I've taken flights over the past 5 years, maybe 6 years, and I was really diligent at first anytime I would fly about getting to the airport 2 to 2.5 hours before the departure time. And most of the time when I would go through security, I think the longest I ever had to wait was like the very first time I flew, which was to Las Vegas, and it was like a 25 to 30 minute wait at Hopkins. But then between that and other airports, usually the most I've ever had to wait is 25 to 30 minutes. And a lot of times at Hopkins, when I go to the security line that's at the end down here, I've only had to wait like 5 minutes. Or there's even times where like I get there and I'm literally right up to the agent immediately. So there's like no line at all. Now last month on St. Patrick's Day when I came, I looked at the line, and it really wasn't that long from my experience in the past. So I was judging based on past experiences, like, oh, this will probably only take like 15 to 20 minutes. But the reason I'm bringing that up is because I was like feeling like I was a savvy traveler. So I actually got to the airport about an hour before my plane was going to depart. It's because I was thinking, oh, the most I've ever had to wait is 25 minutes, so even if when I get through I'll still have like more than a half hour to get to my spot and get ready to board. So I get in line and all of a sudden like 20 minutes have gone by and I feel like I've only moved 2 to 3 spots. So that was making me nervous, and then like 10 more minutes go by and I've barely moved, and I'm calculating in my head, okay, I've only moved like this amount, like maybe halfway that I need to go, or even like 20% of the way of the line, and I'm like, I'm not going to make my flight if this happens. And I was like starting to panic. So then I looked over and I could see the Clear line, which I've always seen in the past, but I've never signed up for it. And I was thinking to myself, well, I really don't want to pay for the cost of Clear, because I've read that it's $189 a year. But I was thinking, you know what, I need a bailout. I'll learn my lesson. I'll start making sure I get to the airport again 2 hours in advance. So I while I was in the normal TSA line, I talked over and said to the Clear agent, I said, hey, what does it take to sign up? Like, how long does that process take? And they said, oh, it only takes about 5 minutes to sign up, and you just get to go through the line. So I exited the line, and let me show where the sign-up process is at Hopkins. I'm sure many other airports are the same as far as how their procedure goes, but if you're signing up for the very first time at Hopkins, for example, you can see the TSA line's actually pretty long here today. Let me zoom in. See over there? There's like several Clear sign-up stations. So that's where you sign up. They ask for your ID and other information, and you do put a credit card on file for that little bit of a stretch. But that only took like 5 minutes. It was accurate what they said. Now granted, if there's a ton of people signing up for some reason, maybe you'll have to wait a little bit. I didn't have to wait that particular day. So once I did that, I was able to skip this entire line here, and then down at the end there's an actual Clear line where you put your eyes up to the machine and it scans it. And I was able to, you cut through the line and basically get right up to the front. The only thing is you don't bypass, like you still have to go through the normal TSA checking of the bags and all that stuff. So if that line is long, you still have to deal with that, but it at least allowed me to get to my flight right on time that time. And they give you a 14-day free trial. So then my plan was to cancel it. So I went to cancel it online, and when I canceled it, I forget if it was a 1 to 2 month free trial extension they offered. So I ended up doing that. So I'm going to do Clear a second time today and taking advantage of that. So Yeah, to my recollection, I think we'll go around to where it says clear over there. So we'll skip all this and go over there, and then it should be like basically no line. Alright, I made it through TSA, but I wanted to give a perspective of how long it took. So when I took that last video and I stopped it, it was at 8:20 a.m. and then when I was all the way through the security line and gathered my belongings, it was 8:32 a.m. So 12 minutes, which isn't bad. Well, because I wasn't in as much of a frenzy this month, I was able to pay more attention to the clear process once you're already signed up. So I went to that line on the very end, and there's several greeters there, and they're all saying, "Oh, all you need is your boarding pass out." So I didn't have to show my ID. And I asked them, "Do I need to take my glasses off?" Because I couldn't remember when they do the facial scan. They offer to do a facial scan or a fingerprint scan. I said, I'll do the facial scan. So I went up there. They just, you put your eyes close to the machine, like about a foot away. It does a scan, and then based on the eye scan, it pulled up the photo they had taken of me last month when they registered me. So you just basically looked and could see that it was the same person. So that way they didn't need my actual ID. And then after that, all I had to do was scan my boarding pass. And then they escorted me right to the front of the line. There was one other person from Clear in front of me, and then they kind of like, the Clear agent waits for like a second or two to get the TSA agent's attention, who normally would scan you in. And once the TSA agent sees that a Clear agent is escorting you, all the TSA agent needs you to do is flash them your boarding pass, and then they just wave you on through. And from there, then it becomes the normal process where you're just doing, putting your bags on the table, doing your, taking your shoes off and all that. So yeah, I would say if you're looking to save time and you're a frequent flyer, the $189 a year could be worth it. And I think if you are a Delta member or a United member, you may get like a $10 or $20 discount. I'd have to check online exactly what the discount is. So that's something to consider. There's also TSA PreCheck, which I've never done. That's cheaper and goes over a longer period of time, but you don't skip the line. There's just supposed to be essentially like fewer people doing it. But yeah, if you enjoyed this video, feel free to hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and let us know your experiences with Clear at the airport, or if you've considered it. Before I sign off, one other thing that I forgot to mention. So this month and last month, one thing I've noticed with the staffing at TSA, it seems to be dramatically less, and that's what I attribute to the slow line being, because last month, I told you, usually based on that length of a line, it would only take 15 to 20 minutes, and it was going much longer. And the reason I determined that was happening was I then paid attention to how many TSA workers there were, and it was like half the number of lanes were actually open. So you cut the normal processing flow in half, and that made a big difference. And then today it was the same thing. There was even fewer people working today. And then when you got to the point where you're going through the the metal detector type of thing, they only had one of those open. So like they had two like lines that were going, where your items are going through the stuff, but then those two lines funneled into just one metal detector thing. So yeah, I don't know. Staffing concerns are causing some longer lines. It's not the amount of people that are flying, in my opinion. Yeah, I just wanted to point that out.